Welcome back, and we're chatting about issues penned in an article by TK Pooe, who is a public policy specialist, and he's with us, and alongside him is Mametlwe Sebei, who is president of the General Industries Workers Union. Now, TK actually touched on quite a few issues before the break, and talking also about the Chinese model of meritocracy and how they go about choosing their leaders, where they would go for people who are not just popular, but people who are also proven to be efficient at what they do. So what's your response to what he had to say?
I mean, just two things that I think TK is missing. One is that capitalism is a global system of wealth production where a development in one corner of the world actually means underdevelopment in the rest. And that is a reason that we are in this crisis. You cannot have a world where each and every country is having a trade surplus. That is just impossible. What it always means is that there will be countries that export at the expense of development in other countries. I mean, if you take China as an example, I mean, their steel manufacturing industry is capable of meeting the world demand for steel 3 times. Now, to think that all of us should be able to go, to that level of industrialization and we can be able to export is not realistic. And I think that is a problem, that South Africa, on the basis of a late development of capitalism, it means we are always going to be on a neo-colonial dependence in relation, firstly, to the West, but I mean increasingly also to the East, in the case of China and other developing Asian markets.
So are you saying we're stuck there? We don't have
on the basis of capitalism. And when I'm speaking about the working class leadership, for me, it's not a question of the origin of a particular individual. It's a question of a program. What we are trying to do is to forge a leadership emerging out of the cold face of the workers' movement. I happen, and I can tell you in that I received a great inspiration from the shop steward committees that, we are building in Swane, for instance, where workers from the factories who have stepped forward, from, a brutal class war, which is a feature of, apartheid workplace, at a great risk to themselves, their livelihoods, to, lead workers who are seeking alternatives. One, to poverty wages that are a key feature of the poverty in this country, because on the basis of this model where majority of our workers, are actually on colonial slave wages, there's no way out. But most importantly as well, who are stepping forward to say, we want society that works in the interest of the great majority, that can solve the problem of chronic mass unemployment that has seen 9 million people in this country in a permanent unemployment, but also economy that can deliver.
That situation is not improving. And I think this is the point that TK is making, that we need to reimagine how we solve these problems.
That is the reason we've got to break with capitalism. And that's the reason for us, what we need is a mass political organization of the working class that will elevate that layer of shop steward into political power and ensure that we expropriate this corrupt lot that are coming out of the ANC and all the bourgeois parties to nationalize all the key industries, the mines, the banks, and take it under a democratic control and management of the working class to make sure that the wealth, enormous wealth that is there in the economy, is used to solve the problems of the mass unemployment, lack of housing, access to education, and all the problems that are faced by the great majority of the working class.
What about the question of the meritocracy?
Well, the issue really of meritocracy, I must say on this point, TK is toying with a very dangerous model, because what we have in China is a brutal dictatorship. And the story of success of China, by the way, is not as simple as people make it. Not less essential to that success is a revolution of 1948, on the basis of which a key sectors of the economy, including the banking and key industries, are under a public ownership, and that makes it possible for that bureaucracy, a brutal dictatorship that it is, to be able to plan the economy, build new industry in a manner that, on the basis of capitalism, on the basis of a backward neo-colonial capitalism and its dependent, is impossible. in a South African situation.
We're out of time, TK, but let me just give you 30 seconds to give us your final
Well, I
thought.
think what confuses me about his argument is he says we must de-link from capitalism. That's what the Chinese Communist Party did under Mao Zedong. And what he's actually saying is everything Mao has said, that we need to leave that system. So it confuses me. In one sense, they say we must leave capitalism. Well, the Chinese did it under Mao, and there was that huge mass death. But you're giving nothing in terms of industries of the future. And if you don't like the example of China, why don't you look at Singapore? How the fact that every 10 years they sit down and they actually decide what are the economies of the future. And just one last point. If you look at the issues of unions in this country, their memberships are going down. Why are they going down? A, people don't actually believe in unions anymore. B, what the model they're proposing is the same as the model most political parties are proposing. It is stuck, it is backward, and has nothing to do with creation of employment, because unions don't create employment.
I'll tell you what, I am loath to, but we have to leave it there. TK Pooe, public policy specialist, and Mametlwe Sebei, who is president of the General Industries Workers Union of South Africa, talking about the state of the country, its leadership, and the economy. What is the way out? And hopefully it's whet your appetite to go and look at these, and perhaps we should have more discussions about how do we move ourselves out of this rut that we are currently in as a country. We're going to take a break. When we come back, it's time for news.